Pretty napkins? Check. White glue? Check. Have you seen the gorgeous faux rice paper being created with these simple supplies? Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik, and the name of my YouTube channel and blog is what I make all the time, creative cards. I'm not into journals or mixed media pieces, but I was enthralled by the faux rice paper tutorials I found, and after playing, I've created a bunch of cards with what I made. Just look. So here are some pretty napkins that I had. It's suggested that you pick napkins that have plenty of white space in them. That makes the best, and you'll see why in a minute. And then here's another napkin that I had, and just look. This one is over yellow paper, so it takes on that hinge. It creates a piece of faux rice paper that is translucent. Obviously you can see through it, and I just think that is the neatest look. That's the first card that I made. Here's another one. An easy thing to do with this paper is to simply frame it and put it on, always on a lighter colored piece of paper. So this one is this napkin here, and I even made the butterfly with it. And of course that first one was this pretty bird paper. Here's another favorite napkin that I've had. I used to do a technique with the mink and saran wrap, and I love those cards, but this is even more unique. Just look at the result of doing this easy technique, and I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. This paper is just gorgeous. I made this card with it. Again, just framed it. I will show you in a few minutes how you can use different colors, and this one was made with a blue, so it's a little brighter and just offset a little bit. This to me is just fascinating. You don't throw away the second or third layers in a 2 or 3 ply napkin. You keep it, and you can make beautiful rice paper that can be used many ways. Now, most people online were doing junk journals and journals or pockets or sewing or things with these, and I am not into that, but I make cards. So in my videos I am going to show you beautiful cards made with this technique. Now you can step it up as I did here, and add a little glass glitter. And I'm going to again show you exactly how I made this piece here. Here's another one I did. I used embossing powder on this, and I like the look, but I learned a lesson. I didn't want this one to be brightly glittered, so I used some mixes of embossing powder, and I just used a little bit on this one. And so the next one I thought, well, I'm going to use a little more and really get some unique things. And then it wasn't staying as easily as the glitter, so then I heat embossed it before I took it off. Big mistake. I wasn't able to remove it from the freezer paper when I did that. So I'm going to play with that a little more. Maybe use a little less. I have to pull it off before I heat set. But here's a card that I made. Again, I just love the look. I like the look of, you know, using that translucent see-through. So the front of this was similar to that one I showed you with the glass glitter on there. And then you open it up and you can see right through it to the beautiful thinking of you. And then I matched it back here, and that's where I will sign it. So a really beautiful translucent card. Here's another one of my favorites. A little bit of glass glitter on there, and then you open it up and you can see right through it to that pretty feather. Now all the details on all these cards I'm going to share today will be on my blog, and there's links in the description box. There's also links in the description box to the 2 videos that I found most helpful in learning about this technique. Very, very well taught. Got me all excited. So I have links to them in the description box as well. So the first step that you need to do is to skin the napkins. And this is a very large dinner napkin. I cut it in half. You don't have to do that, but my space would not allow for twice as much of this to work on. It just doesn't allow for that. But if yours does, then keep it together. You're going to skin the napkin. Okay, so this one is 3-ply. And I do, of course, want that top one, that pretty floral. I'm going to very carefully pull this apart. And so the top one is very see-through, and that's what you're going to make a lot of, you know, your cards with, or your faux wax paper. But this is very exciting to me. When I did that other technique and did it a lot, we just threw these away or used them, you know, at the dinner table. But in this case, we are also going to skin the second and third layers and use those to make the ones I showed you that are like this, or, you know, I added a little glass glitter or something on some of these, but this is a very, very cool look and can be used in our cards. And we save these and make those pieces with that. And what I found really fascinating, I don't know about you, but I think it's really cool, is often the second layer has a ghosting of the pattern, so it just has a tinge of that pattern on there, and that was really beautiful to work with. So I am going to show you that in a minute. But first, I'm going to demonstrate the technique. You're going to take some white glue, and it can be very inexpensive white glue. This is from the dollar store. I put a note on there to shake, because this, when it comes out, if you don't shake, is separated a little bit, but you know. So any white glue, any inexpensive white glue will work. And you put in some of that. And then you're going to mix that with liquid. Now, some of them were just doing water and then adding a little coffee for color. I liked the one I saw that used coffee only for that, what you add to it. So the parts are 2 parts glue, white glue, and 1 part liquid. And that can again be water if you want it clear, or and depending on how light you want it, or it can be full coffee, which I have in my thing here, or tea, and they even say like acrylic paints and other things work. I'm going to show you an alternative in just a few minutes, but for now I am using coffee. So I am making less than I normally make here, but you just pour in some coffee, and you want it to be fairly runny and a color that you like. So you just mix that up well. And I found this technique to be very forgiving. In other words, if I made it thicker or thinner, it worked. If I put more or less on the paper napkin, it worked. The only problem I had was what I mentioned, was when I heat set the embossing powder before trying to remove it from the freezer paper. That did not work. It tore all to heck. But that was the only problem I had. So, you know, just play with it and have fun. And, you know, it's 2 to 1, but it's a very, like I said, forgiving technique. No matter what I did, I really didn't have a problem. So that's adding coffee. Then the next thing that you need is freezer paper. Wax paper doesn't work, and parchment paper doesn't work. It needs to be real freezer paper, and you're using the glossy side. Now, some people online were using like cereal box, you know, the bag inside the cereal box. Well, you could make 1 card with that, or 1 piece with that, because it has to sit a good 12 to 24 hours. It just really has to sit a long time. That's the hardest part of this technique, is being very, very patient. They suggest overnight. When I made them in the morning, by evening I was able to remove them. But if I was working in the afternoon, I left it overnight and I waited till the morning. So it has to sit a very long time. So whatever you use, you have to be able to take it and put it in some place and let it sit. So I'm suggesting freezer paper, fairly inexpensive. You cut a piece of the freezer paper a little bit larger than the napkin, and you can see it wants to roll up. So what I do is I just take some regular tape and I tape down the edges of the freezer paper. And then when you're drying it, the same thing likes to happen. So I have an old tablecloth that I pulled out for drying purposes. Again, it has to sit a very long time. And I just used those same pieces of tape and laid it down and attached it with that so it laid flat while I was drying it. Now you take a Sharpie and you're going to mark a little bit bigger than all four sides of the napkin on here. And then you're gonna move this, and what I do at that time is gently wrinkle it. Now it's up to you, but I really like the pieces that have a little more wrinkles in them. Some people were like very carefully putting it down and trying not to have wrinkles, and I'm like, I like the wrinkles. So I did. I'm going to take a fluffy brush, you know, I think this is maybe 3/4 of an inch, you know, look at what you have. I tried an old bigger one like that thinking, well, that'll go faster, but that put too much on. So just take some kind of brush and you're going to apply this mixture all over this square or rectangle, whatever you just drew, so that there is some all over inside those four corners. And again, this is it's easy to do, frankly. You just need enough to put down a layer to hold the napkin. And you're going to take the napkin and you're going to lay it down. And again, I like the wrinkles, so I'm encouraging them. So you pat it down, and again, I'm encouraging the wrinkles, you know, within reason. I don't want it to tear, but I want there to be some visible wrinkles in there. Now my fingers are a little sticky because that's glue, and I forgot to get it out, but what I normally have next to me is my Gina K Designs Tidy Towel, which is wet, slightly wet, and I just wipe up my fingers when I do that. All right, so then the next step is to apply this mixture all over. You want to hit all of it. You want to be somewhat gentle, but I really didn't have a problem with it tearing. You don't want to go back and forth and try to stretch your liquid, you know, your glue mixture. Just go over it all. So I tend to do about half, and then I come back and do the other half. And I found no matter how much I put on, as long as there was some all over, it worked. So it's not hard to do. It was that easy. Now, a very important tip that one of the ladies that I learned from told us was to take the brush and push in the edge just a little bit all the way around. And what this does, first of all, it creates a really cool edge, but it also makes it way easier to get this off. There were some ladies who were just struggling and struggling and struggling to get it off, and I thought, well, if that's going to be the case in every single one, that wouldn't be fun. In this case, and I didn't leave one on to show you. I probably should have, but I didn't. But you just push down on all four sides, and that's all there is to it. Now this is going to go on a drying area and dry. I'm filming in the morning, so by tonight I could probably pull it off. And all I did to pull it off was take a knife and just start one edge and then just pull carefully. And very few of them ripped. It was very easy to get them off, and you saw the results. This one looks like this when you pull it off, depending on how big you make it, and then you can cut it down. I tried to measure like what would be the front of an A2 card and get those edges to be perfect, and that was difficult to do, but it can be done. And of course many people like working with a bigger piece and in a junk journal or whatever. So this is going to go sit for a long time and then be ready to be pulled off. And now I'm going to show you one more. I already cut a piece of freezer wrap, and what I want to show you is using the second or third layer of these. I cut this a little big, and I'm going to cut it down so I can get that on camera a little bit easier. You can see how it rolls up. So again, just tape down the sides. So that it stays down. And then I am going to mark the edges again. And on this one, I'm going to add some glass glitter. And I don't want to forget that. And again, I'm going to wrinkle it up a little bit. I'm not going to tear it, but I'm wrinkling it up. And then I'm going to take this mixture and put some all over inside those four corners. And then I'm going to have this tape down further here. Take that piece. I like the slight, ghosting images there, a little bit of color on those. So I'm going to put that side up, put it down. Again, I like the wrinkles, so I'm going to encourage them to be a little wrinkled. Wipe my hands. And then take the mixture and apply it all over. Now they did say if a tear concerned you, if you had a tear in the middle, you could just use your brush and push that together and it would dry like a wrinkle, but not a big tear. So I noticed a tear on the side a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about it. With card making, of course, I'm not going to use this whole piece. I can make 2 cards out of it, or maybe 3. I found that you could die cut them. You can punch them. There's just, the use of this is really endless. It's translucent, so you do have to pay attention when you're attaching it. Kind of like using maybe a thicker vellum, you know, you do have to, you don't want to put like big strips of some kind of adhesive behind it. I found that glue dots work beautifully, that two-sided strong adhesive tape, like the red liner tape, or probably even just regular score tape. Anything that was you know, you have to have something that's not going to show too much, but or using the frames, you know, the die cut frames, but it really wasn't hard to come up with ideas on how to use these pieces, and how to attach them was not difficult. Oh, another thing you can use is like a mixed media type product. I'm not sure what it's called, but you know, those mixed media clear paste gels, that also would attach it. So I have gone all the way around like I showed you, creating those cool edges, but also making it easy to pull off. And now I'm going to take some, this one is Stampendous Steel Blue Crushed Glass Glitter. You can use any kind of glitter, but I liked a little bit chunkier, and I happen to have these in my stash. And also, I just didn't want anything ultra fine, but if that's what you like, try some ultra fine. You know, and you don't really need to add anything, but I found on these plainer ones, for my purposes, I liked a little color. So I have some blue. I also have some gold glass glitter just from Michael's. And it's again, it's a little chunkier than the regular glitter. But it adds a little sparkle and interest to the piece. Now that was easy, wasn't it? Okay, so that's really all there is to making these. Now it has to sit for quite a while. Depending on, you know, your location, how damp or humid you are, if you got the air on, or, you know, if you can get a breeze, but not 4 hours. I'm going to say a good 8 hours, and overnight is probably best, depending on what time you make it. So let's look at some other cards that I made. This is a favorite, and it is that embossing powder, and I had a small piece that wasn't torn too badly, so I was able to use it. So I really like the look. Let's say again, you don't want that sparkly of the glitter, but you want a little something on the plainer pieces, like I just made. So I'm going to try that a little more, and I just love that you can die cut it, and it does, you know, because it's translucent, I put another one underneath, and then I love the look that you can read through it. I just think that's really cool. I could have put that Thinking of You on top, but it's just a very subtle way to draw the eye to the next page, and then you can sign it on the back. I have my notes there. But you can sign it on the back or sign it right underneath Thinking of You. Isn't that beautiful? Here's one that I did that I framed it. This was a pretty napkin that I found at Hobby Lobby. It's kind of difficult to find the kind of napkins that have white space. Most of them are 100% color. I'm going to play with those. I think they will still kind of work, but it's better with this because you really want the translucent parts to have white space on there. So you can make all sorts of different sizes. Obviously, this is a slim line. And so I thought that paper was really pretty. I made that. Then I was thinking, what if you took a plain piece and put it over pattern paper? And then I was like, well, I have pattern paper. I just made it. So this is 2 layers. This is a clear layer over the green, aqua blue leaves there. I just made a mini slim line there with that card. Here's another pretty napkin that I found at Hobby Lobby, and it had lots of white space in this case and some floral. So this is one that I did where I used the mixed media, I haven't got it here, the mixed media paste. So that's clear, and you can attach it directly to the cardstock, wrinkling it up. So I did that on that one with some pretty die cuts there. What if you can't find napkins, or you have some tissue paper in your stash, gift wrap tissue paper that has lots of white space? Guess what, guys? It works, okay? I did it here. I wasn't sure because this one has kind of a gold, that's real gold on there, and it was a little bit glossier on one side, so I tried both sides, and both sides work. So this was the back, so it's not quite as colorful. And then this card I made with a piece from the front. So I have this nice big, you know, I can make a lot with these, and it did work. So I think for Christmas cards, I'm going to try some pretty Christmas wrap. This card is a slimline. I put some feathers on there because the pattern has feathers. And again, you open it up and you can see through it. Isn't that pretty? So tissue wrap will work. Vellum will not. I have this really pretty pattern vellum, and I tried it. It just sat on top of it. It didn't absorb into the vellum, so vellum doesn't work. But tissue wrap will. So let's look at something else. I'm going to show you that if you don't want brown, or if you don't have coffee, you can use dye reinkers. So coffee, of course, you know, extra coffee is very, very, very cheap. But you can use dye reinkers, and I decided to try it with yellow, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to make a mixture, and we're going to add some dye reinkers. So the first one I did, I used a Distress ink tumbled glass, and I made it pretty bright. And at first I thought, oh, that's too bright, and then I thought, no, I kind of like that look, you know. So if you want to add some color, this is the second generation, so there's a little bit of ghosting in there. Isn't that pretty? And this is a napkin that I did just the traditional way, and then this is when I added yellow. So fun, right? You could do any color. The second one I did, I didn't have, well, I don't have a lot of Distress reinkers, but I have some. So I just used just a traditional Stampin' Up! Reinker for yellow. So I think any dye reinker would work. Experiment. I didn't try Distress Oxides, and I don't think a pigment would be a good idea. It might mix up just fine. But you can make different colors with your reinkers. You don't use a lot, but if you're going to make brown, I don't know if I would use my Vintage Photo, because you do use quite a bit, and again, coffee or tea works just fine for a light brown. So to do this, again, we're going to do 2 parts glue to 1 part of some kind of liquid. Well, you don't want to do 1/3 using your reinkers, or you're gonna go through them very, very fast. So I found if you just added a little water, I just happen to have a spray bottle here, so just add a little water for part of your 1/3. So it's 2 parts glue to 1 part other liquid, and mix that up. And then you're going to take your reinker, and I did pink on I did 3 days. I did pink on my second day. I didn't add enough. You could barely see that it was pink. So I'm going to say, you know, again, it's your personal choice. Maybe about 5 drops. 2 wasn't enough. It looked plenty pink, but then on my actual projects, it was just a very light tinge, which again might be just fine, but I kind of wanted to know it was pink and I couldn't see that. So there is a pretty yellow, but what if you really wanted to, you know, you've got to, I have all these liquid shimmer sprays. I have dozens of them and I never use them, and usually when I do want to use them, then the top is plugged up. So I tried one brand yesterday and I didn't really get any shimmer, so I'm going to try okay, so I have this Imagine Sheer Glimmer Gold. I just would like to think if I can get a little bit of gold shimmer in there. Of course, if I can't get the top off. Oh, there we go. So yesterday I tried just a little bit of just the gold and it just made it brown, you know, so I don't need another brown. So I'm going to see if we can make this shimmery. Ooh, I think that might work, right? It's hard to see probably on camera, but there is some shimmer there. Let's see what this one does. You can be a mad scientist with and just play and see if when the result is, and I haven't done this, and got a shimmer. So I'm gonna, maybe I'll make a card with something I showed you today and see if we can see that shimmer in there. But this is my last demo of the video. All right, so I don't know. It's going to be a pretty yellow. I don't know if we're going to get any shimmer in there or not, but you know I got a lot of this. So let's go for a little more. Oop. All right, so that, instead of like a light brown, is what I'm going to apply over some of these napkin pieces. And I'll make a card and I'll post it on my blog, and we'll see if we can get that to be very, very shimmery. Cleaning up a little bit because I'm going to make one card with you. So this is exactly like what I showed you when I made my first demonstration. My favorite cards of the ones I made are the ones that I use this as one of the layers. So it is over a piece of cardstock, and it is a lightly colored cardstock. And you can see through it, and when you lift it up, you see that translucent color. So I just really, really like that look. And what I do is I cut a piece that is just about the size of the card front. In this case, I'm choosing a 5x7. And the easiest thing to do is to simply fold. So I'm going to hold that in place, and I want fold it along one side and end up with a part that I can tape down. And I have applied some strong two-sided tape to the top. Now, if after this is done, if this edging here bothers you, you could simply cover it up with another piece of cardstock. It doesn't bother me too much. It's the back of the card. So I've been leaving it. So get that lined up. Push this down. The tape becomes invisible. So basically you just have an edge of that pretty paper. So again, that doesn't bother me, so I leave it. But you could cover it up, or you could make some of those cards like I showed that have it as the whole card base and just put a piece of cardstock inside. Now, I love the edges on this, but it's almost impossible to get all 4 edges to be that, what I showed you when I was pushing the brush in. So what I've been doing is taking a decal scissors and using that to cut this to what I like. So it ends up with a, you know, like a torn edge, but with a little more, sometimes when you tear a little bit too much off. So I've just been using a decal scissors to cut it to pretty much the height and width that I want. But it doesn't have to be perfect. That will still have a pretty edge and will fit into a 5x7 card. And then, like I showed you, I really like the look of being able, I could put this friend on top, and I found that a good liquid glue does that just fine. But I like the look of putting it under, so you read through the translucent to the inside. So I put my liquid glue here. I'm going to attach friend. Guess I do need my needle. It's been sitting. And let's see, just put it down where I think I want it. Don't press. Yeah, that's good. All right. Whoop. And then I have a I, dot the I. Whoops, stay. It was that simple to make a card, and that those beautiful wrinkled translucent bird piece is just a lovely front on there. And you open it up and then it just says friend, and you can write your message or write it on the back. So the faux rice paper technique is so easy. No matter how thick the glue was or what I did, it seemed to work. And then to make cards with these lovely translucent pieces of art is easy too. I hope my cards inspire you to give some of these ideas a try, and then you send your works of art out into the world to spread the joy. Watch the next video for some fun card making techniques, and I'll see you next week for some more card making joy.